We're just a few hours away from President Trump's State of the Union. Arizona Democratic Congressman Raúl Grijalva joins me now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, we know President Trump is expected to avoid talking impeachment. He's going to focus on the economy. Is this where he has an upper hand over Democrats when he talks about the strength of the economy?
Yeah, the indications are, and let's see if if Trump has the discipline not to talk about the impeachment and the articles of impeachment that House Democrats sent to the Senate. And, his talk comes on the eve of the acquittal by Senate Republicans of those impeachment articles. So whether he talks about it or not, that is the heavy pale that's hanging over this this State of the Union, and given the fact that it's historic. And while he is going to tout the economy, the growth rate he predicted was 4%. We're at 2.3, and have been at that number. The effect of the tax cuts to the upper levels, the super rich in this country and corporate America, the effects of that revenue loss have not been felt yet, and the effects on inflation have not been felt yet. So I would say that you can tout the economy, but there are tenuous signs. The wage disparity continues to grow. So while he may tout it, I don't think it necessarily means that that is going to be the issue that he is successful on come re-election time. So like it or not, impeachment will be hanging over this State of the Union address.
Tonight the president has invited a man whose brother was shot and killed by an undocumented immigrant. The president's blamed California's sanctuary city policy. You're a firm critic of Mr. Trump's immigration policies. Do you think that immigration will be an issue that mobilizes Democrats to vote?
I think that Democrats on the issue of immigration, and I think most Americans, the majority of Americans, they want some solution-based agenda. Building a fanciful wall that is not really a deterrent, that's not a solution. Separating moms from their kids is not a solution. And bringing the agony of losing a loved one, as this mom that's going to be here today, regardless of who killed her child, is tragic and deserves our sympathy. But that is not a policy decision. And sanctuary cities, like it or not, that's a prerogative that many communities have taken. My local communities have rejected the funding from Stone Garden, which was to allow local police to enforce immigration laws. Those are decisions communities make at the lower levels, and instead of threatening them with taking away funds, we should respect the decision that local control is making for local communities, regardless of whether it's Tucson, Arizona, or Los Angeles, California.
The president took further steps to restrict immigration by adding another 6 countries to the travel ban. What are the steps that Congress is doing to counter his actions?
Well, I think the House has been forthright. We passed DACA. We refused to fund the wall, and he took it out of the Department of Defense and out of soldiers and their families' benefits and facilities, and out of cybersecurity that we need desperately in this country. But having said that, the Senate rejects anything that comes from the House of Representatives, which we Democrats are in the majority. We'll continue to do that, to provide to the American people a very clear choice of what is possible if given the right situations, and given the president that doesn't use the issue of race and immigration as a dividing point. As long as Stephen Miller is there whispering in his ear to a very willing president to continue these divisive issues based on race, this campaign, you're going to see immigration as one of the issues that they use as a cleaver to divide and create fear, as they did in the previous campaign.
You've been an advocate for combating climate change. How do you think you can counter the president's narrative on this? And what do you feel are concrete steps that you're taking on Capitol Hill that'll really make a difference?
Well, I think the Select Committee is important, but I chair the Resources Committee. We're going to have a net zero emissions, greenhouse gas emissions out of public lands and waters. That'll be a 25% contribution to the reduction of climate change and the warming of our planet. We're doing all those steps because we feel that this is a consequential issue, climate change. You won't hear much about it today other than energy independence and continuing to do away with regulations that protect people's health and are a necessary step to beginning to combat climate change in this country. We have done nothing other than leave the international community, leave any effort at a global effort on climate change, and here domestically, we have done nothing but aggravate and promote and speed up the warming of our planet through the policies that this president and this Interior Department and this EPA have fomented in the last 3.5 years.
How confident are you that you can get bipartisan support on that?
I think that the American people, majority of them, feel climate change is real, that we should put science in front in terms of the decision making and the empirical information we need in order to solve this, and they believe that it is man-made. Man has a contributing factor to that, and that government should do something about it. If that requires that we start to make a transition away, and it does require that, from fossil fuels, the American people support that. And its solution is, how do we make that transition? How long will it take? And how do we protect communities that are vulnerable and don't have the wherewithal to be able to protect themselves?
Congressman Grijalva, before you go, I want to ask you, both Democratic and Republican national committees have named your state, Arizona, a battleground state for 2020. Some say the days of Arizona being comfortably Republican could be ending. What are you hearing from your constituents that means the most to them in determining how they will vote in November?
Education, the issue of climate change and the environment, and the issue of opportunity. And I think what you hear very clearly, because the demographics in Arizona have changed as well. It's younger, it's more of color than it used to be 10, 15, 20 years ago. And what you hear there is the issue of opportunity and the issue of inclusiveness. That's how Arizona is changing, and I think you'll see it in this election. And I think we're going to elect a senator, a Democratic senator from Arizona, and the state has a great opportunity to go for the Democrat nominee for president. That is the change that is happening in Arizona, and it is tilting blue, and it will continue to go in that direction.
Congressman Raúl Grijalva, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation, Rena.